Hello, everybody. I am back and I am Lucian. I don't know how to start this video, but please give me a like if you like what I am doing. And today I select like 7 videos from TikTok to debate. Most of them are like the same, from the same topic, but different content creators and are genuine the same lies. Um, I will bring my contribution and I'll explain some details about every time when I open the TikTok app, I see a lots of videos with lies. And what I hate the most is people lying. So with all I said, let's watch the first video. This one, share. Something wrong with the internet. Oh, what's wrong with the internet in this country?
In Jordan, we do this ceremony called the Jaha, where a man goes for a woman.
It shouldn't be this. Okay, I hope it's not stop sharing. Mm. Anyway, I don't see it. Okay, I hope this okay. This will be much less videos because I don't found the other two.
You guys remember this, right? This is the port that the U.S. built on the shoreline of Gaza to apparently deliver humanitarian aid. Well, let's talk about it. This port was just used to deliver what we call a Trojan horse. What do I mean by that? The U.S. military and Israeli occupying forces hid in humanitarian aid trucks that were supposed to deliver aid to El Nasriyat refugee camp, a population that has forcibly been starved for the last 9 months. To carry out
The population not was forced to starve. The only problem is they have support an criminal terrorist organization, Hamas. And they made so much problems. Then the IDF, it's technically in need to come to remove and rescue the people of Israel from the Gaza Strip.
carry out what they call a rescue mission by indiscriminately firing on Palestinian civilians to rescue 4 hostages while massacring over 200 innocent men, women, and children. And
I looked on the news today and I saw the order of the events. They didn't fire indiscriminately at civilians, and the IDF tried to not hurt anybody. The Gazans start firing at IDF, and IDF responds back with all the ammunition they have. Hmm. The hostages was successfully saved, and they are okay in Israel. The mission was successfully finished. Sorry.
Israeli occupying forces hid in humanitarian aid trucks that were supposed to deliver aid to El Nasriyat refugee camp, a population that has forcibly been starved for the last 9 months, to carry out what they call a rescue mission by indiscriminately firing on Palestinian civilians to rescue 4 hostages while massacring over 200 innocent men.
IDF didn't massacre innocent people. They respond because they was attacked by Gaza. The terrorist was in that camp and was armed. They fire at IDF. IDF respond to them.
And women and children, and injuring over 400 of them. The images are truly disturbing, and of course, the mainstream media is completely fabricating the stories, making this massacre sound like a rescue mission. Here's
Was a real rescue mission, don't was a massacre. The why was the hostages held in a refugee camp? If a refugee camp is used as space for storage the hostages that camp lose under international law the protection of being a refugee camp. It's directly it can be directly targeted by the military.
some examples provided by Slow Factory. Imagine if these headlines read how the events actually took place. U.S. and Israeli forces murdered over 200 innocent men, women, and children to save 4 hostages.
They don't was innocent. Because they keep the hostages in a refugee camp. The refugee camp is not anymore a refugee camp.
Doesn't sound so heroic anymore, does it? We must make sure that we set the record straight. A massacre does not equate to a rescue mission. Murdering civilians in a refugee camp cannot and will not be justified. Israel has been offered multiple ceasefire resolutions and hostage exchanges proposed with reasonable demands. The value of
the mă doare capul. Ai. This guy is lying, and I saw this information first, previous this video. The ceasefire agreements offered by Hamas are not good for both sides. IDF requests all the hostages back, and Hamas doesn't want to give back all the hostages. It's so simple. IDF receive the hostages. Hamas have a ceasefire. Nothing else more.
Palestinian life in the eyes of the Western world is truly disgusting, and we will not stand for it. So as always, we need to keep sharing, keep posting, and do not stop talking about Palestine.
Sharing, posting. You are the liars. In the morning, I saw a report of the IDF, which says the report of the IDF mission, which says, yes, they use information from the USA to see if to confirm the hostages are where they are. Use that boat as a last bridge to enter in Gaza, where the camp it is, but they didn't kill people without no reason. They didn't kill innocent people. They was attacked by Gaza. I see last time when the French was in a rescue mission, and Americans do the same thing. To save 3 people from the West Africa, Americans send their battalion, a brigade of US Marines, and from 3 people to save 3 people, they destroy an entire village. And after after they secured the hostages, the three hostages, they fire at that village. Then the report says no living organism survived, and it's not present here, a living organism in the area where we bombed. So 200 or 4 people, it's still a good ratio. When they are attacked, can be 0. It probably was 0 if Hamas returned secure the hostages. I will show you another one on the video. Something is wrong with this. What exactly is happening here? I'll show you another video. That's
The fact that Israel murdered over 200 Palestinians in order to save 4 hostages, and the way that the media is behaving towards this just shows you how wildly racist the world is. Where 4 white Israelis, their lives are worth more than hundreds of Palestinians. Every single Western news agency is reporting about this and reporting about this fast.
again, they don't killed innocent people. They fired at IDF. Was around 210 people died, and more than 150 was armed people. Was Hamas people. And who speak about white? I mean, you are much whiter than I am, and I'm European. Israeli are not actually white.
Fast, showing each Israeli hostage, humanizing them, telling you their age, showing you their families, showing you videos of the hostages crying. When throughout this 8-month period, over 50,000 Palestinians were murdered. Did the BBC tell you what the age?
Where did you take that number? From Hamas? 15,000. The most realistic number, and it's also taken from Hamas, it's 40. That's 40,000. 40,000. It's the most realistic number.
Of each of those Palestinians were. Did the BBC take videos of each of those Palestinians being murdered and their families and show you the reactions? Did the BBC, CNN, NBC, all of these Western news outlets, did they humanize the over 50,000 Palestinians the way that they are humanizing these 4 Israelis? The media is so racist.
Media is not racist. You are stupid. Hamas kidnapped a bunch of Israeli, which was not, none of the Israeli was military personnel in action. There was people at a concert living their life. And it's tragic and should be everybody should be protected technically.
And they're death mongers. They value Israeli life more than they do Palestinian life. And that's the whole problem. Palestinians are dying left, right, and center.
For you, the Israeli didn't want to kill anybody. They was attacked by Hamas people.
No one bats an eye. No one seems to care. This world is disgusting and racist. This was a post made by the BBC where they're showing you the Israeli hostages and humanizing them, displaying them with their families. Here in the description, they name every.
I think you become racist in this moment. I mean, you compare, yes, humans both sides. I mean, you are presenting this information like we took something what is not human and humanize it.
Every single Israeli and their age, brushing over the fact that 210 Palestinians were killed, 400 wounded.
Hamas government media officials said at least 210 people were killed, at least 400 wounded on Sunday in Israeli strike in the Nuseirat area. Hamas is telling the data. Still don't these data cannot count like being the real information. Plus, they are not innocent people.
Making it seem like the H government is behind this. I am so sick of
Hamas is behind that.
the racist Western media. So sick of the devaluation of Palestinian life. Palestinian blood is constantly flowing, and Palestinian life is constantly dismissed like it's less than.
If was as you told, the Palestinian lives are dismissed continuously, and the blood is shed all the time. Okay, if it was like that, should be a higher number of people unalived, which is not. Which one should be? This thinks this is it. This is it. I'll show another video.
Do you want to know the difference between an Israeli hostage and a Palestinian civilian? Israeli hostages return to their families alive. Israeli hostages return to their families well fed.
No, it's not true. Israeli hostages are some Israeli who are dead because Palestinians, because Hamas, because I cannot generalize for all, because Hamas keep them in poor conditions, and the most which are very good are used for propaganda purposes or for other purposes like exchanging the hostages.
Israeli hostages return to their families mentally stable. Israeli hostages return to their families.
Not true. Are not mentally stable. After this situation, I don't think a human being can be considered mental health.
Alive. Today, the IDF and the U.S. Army invaded a refugee camp in Palestine.
Nobody invaded anything. Was a rescue mission with the only sole purpose of recovering for for people from the camp which was they was hostage there. Yes, US contribute to that because they have the most intelligent. But beside of that, I don't think they did it more than providing information.
And murdered over 200 Palestinian refugees to save 4 hostages. And before you
Nobody murdered anything. They was attacked. IDF was attacked by Palestinians. Palestinians died because IDF respond. What do you expect? IDF to be attacked but didn't respond back?
say, if Hamas just released the hostages, then they wouldn't have had to invade the refugee camp.
Refugee camp. If a refugee camp host hostages, the refugee lost the legal protection of being a refugee camp. It's null, cancelled.
Hamas agreed to 4 hostage release deals. All 4 were declined by Israel. The last one was in the month of May.
No, it not was. The IDF, Israel actually didn't accept Hamas ceasefire proposal because not was a win-win situation. Plus, they didn't receive back the confirmation will have returned all the hostages.
All 4 were declined by Israel. You want to know why they were declined? It's because Hamas wanted some of the Palestinian prisoners that were put into Palestine with no jury, no trial. They are literally prisoners for no reason. Many of them are there under the quote authoritative detention, which literally means there's no reason for them to be there. And Israel,
Again, nobody is arrested for no reason there. Most all have terrorist activity, suspicious terrorist activity, and other problems related to terrorism.
would rather bulldoze innocent Palestinian civilians. Israel knew they could have done this with no bloodshed. They
IDF went to have this recovery with no bloodshed, but Hamas didn't agree with that. They start firing at IDF soldiers, and they respond.
chose to massacre over 200 Palestinians. And now the citizens of Israel are dancing in the street.
Nobody massacred, nobody anything. They are joyful and happiness and over the moon feeling because 4 of the people of that country turned back safely in a successful rescue mission. Okay, I just found another one.
infiltrated a refugee camp in trucks disguised as medical aid. They pretended to be medical aid workers. They came from the port built by the US and they drove in medical aid trucks into the refugee camp, pretending to be aid workers, doctors, and nurses, just so they can go and murder over 200.
The mission was successful, and it doesn't matter how they discussed. They discussed as they can protect their own lives and protect the hostages' lives. The mission was so successfully, nobody was there to murder anybody.
100 people. I can't believe what I just read. They massacred 200 refugees. Massacred.
They are not refugees if a camp was used as a storage unit for hostages. The camp always will lose the status, so the people was active part of the conflict.
200 civilians, refugee camps. They did that while pretending to be medical aid workers. What the hell kind of people do that? Every time I hear something that Israel does, it just gets more and more inhumane. Who the hell infiltrates a refugee camp as medical aid workers and then murders hundreds of people? I genuinely can't believe.
Yeah, I also I cannot believe what you are saying. I don't find anything telling about being the soldiers being discussed as medical workers.
What I just read.
Yeah, probably they used some of the lorries of the aid transporters, but nothing special in that.
Why is no one talking about this?
About what the mission was successfully. I do applaud and congrats the professionalism of the IDF and the number of the victim. The victim couldn't be zero, but yeah, they opened fire at IDF and result in this huge number, which is not actually easy to ingurgitate as being a real number because it's reported by Hamas. Hamas is not a trustable source. I found another one.
By Israeli media and Palestinian journalists on the ground, the United States military was involved in Israel's recent bloody operation that killed over 200 Palestinian civilians in a refugee camp.
I don't think US military was involved in that because the entire mission on the ground was conducted by IDF. Probably America was helping with some information or things like that because, yeah, they are the best in intelligence. And why do everybody
It has been confirmed by
use the same news outlet? It's yes, a bloody military operation, but Hamas start the fire at IDF. Now it's one which is very, very long. Okay, this is no, this. Oh God, I don't know how these TikTokers make so many views, like 30,000, 40,000, 100,000, and I don't make more than 3, 4. Let's share this. Interesting. She wore a Palestinian flag on.
We can get
Minutes.
updated on some of the key facts and events that happened that led up to the incident in Al Nasra camp, the camp that was attacked today in Central Gaza at the hospital, at Nasser's hospital, and all the events that happened during the attack, okay? Because it's a lot. And there's some more information that is still coming out as we speak, okay? So what we do know now is that the United States obviously was involved, okay? And it's so bad with them trying to deny or imply that they were not involved when we have literal footage of the helicopter that flew in to retrieve them, which was an Apache helicopter.
If it was a Apache helicopter, doesn't mean necessarily US was involved in. IDF have helicopters from the US.
And the United States soldiers that were on ground, and the footage was taken by someone who was hanging over an apartment building that was their apartment building. So they actually were able to catch footage of those soldiers airlifting them away.
Again, I didn't find anywhere any source telling US soldiers was on the ground there.
In addition to that, we know for a fact that that pier was used in order to help them get those people away, and that they attacked coming through that pier. So they docked on the pier and they attacked from that area. Now, here's some of the things that we did not know earlier, but we know now that are a little sick and twisted. This was plotted. Not only was it plotted, it was plotted like days, weeks in advance, okay? They had information about where certain individuals were being detained, in which the detainee, the female that actually was able to be released by Hamas, stated she was never in the tunnels. They were never in the tunnels. Her group was never in the tunnels. They were above ground, and she remembered.
Where did you took this information? Because nowhere found anything like that. And okay, it doesn't matter if it was underground or was on the surface, still was in captivity in Hamas hands. So the mission should anyway. IDF was in it to make this mission to save to rescue that 4 people.
Members or recollects being moved from 3 different places above ground that were apartments inside of the buildings. She does also remember almost dying because Israel almost bombed them to death. Yeah. In addition to that, as of right now, the Palestinian Authority.
Where did you talk this information again, madam? Because I didn't find anywhere anything like that. And in any ways, doesn't matter if she was moved around or was in the tunnels.
Are feeling some type of way because if y'all didn't know, 200 people were killed just to retrieve those 4 individuals.
Yes, nobody cares. Last time when France or US was in a rescue mission, the ratio of people dead was much higher than this. For 4 people, was to say 4 people was killed. 210 Hamas by Palestinians. For 3 people, US killed around 1,000 people, and France for 5 people in one of the rescue missions they have in Africa. For 5 people, they killed around 9,900 people. For 5 people, they killed 900. America killed 1,000 for 3 people. Where is higher ratio? Usually the ratio is so low, then it cannot be. Plus, this was armed people, most of them. Like around 150 was part of Hamas.
Leaving a mark on the world that making it seem like those 4 lives were worth way more than the 210 lives that were lost to retrieve those 4 individuals. Are y'all serious?
Now all the lives are equal. The only individuals who don't know that are Hamas, because they endanger own people just to make fake news like this. Arm the own people and after claim they was innocent.
Well over 400 people were wounded dangerously during this entire operation. Retrieve 4 people.
And for that, I also easily can blame Hamas. They was the fault. They are the problem here.
You shot and hurt 10 times more, 100 times more people, and killed 210 people. I'm so confused as to why this operation was so important. I'm not sure what information they thought.
Hold on. So was killed 100 more. But that's not the good calculation because it 210 for 4 people is still 50 more people or 1 people saved. The ratio is actually very good.
They got from that, but again, like I said, there are still hundreds of people in their possession, in Hamas's possession. So they're like, okay, I'm not sure what you thought she was doing with that, but That wasn't anything. Not to mention, they used Apache helicopters instead of those F fighter jets, which lets us know that. Which, by the way, up until now, Israel has kept the same sentiment, which is that they have never had an Apache helicopter and they never used an.
Why do you are sure Israel doesn't have an Apache helicopter? India, Israel, UK. Yes, it says the defense post. The defense post says IDF own #A#60 for Apache 190 and 130 helicopters. So they own 2 Apache helicopters. Okay. Yes, they own Apache helicopter.
Apache helicopter, and now we've seen 2 Apache helicopters, both of which contain the ammo and the rounds that were used to kill the Israeli
Madam, I just told they own 2 Apache helicopter.
citizens that were at that concert on October 7th. So that in itself proves a huge lie that they've been telling since October 7th, that they did not have an Apache helicopter and Hamas had an Apache helicopter. Yes, they did, and they had it in this situation as well. That on top of that,
Okay. They own Apache helicopters since last year in September when they was purchased from USA. So
there is footage of said Apache helicopter. There we are. American soldiers.
they are not American soldiers.
One more again for those that needed a close-up of said helicopter. Mind you, they stated that today was this operation was so successful because they assumed that it would be harder for them to retrieve these individuals because they were going up against heavy clashes in a complex urban neighborhood. Child, just say the same open air prison that y'all forced them into. And y'all were no match up against Hamas, because if you were, you wouldn't need an Apache helicopter to retrieve said people. Y'all claim to the whole world that you're big and bad, but you had to kill 210 people and injure 400 people just to get 4 people. I mean, baby, check the scoreboard. I see why Hamas is laughing at you. I see why they're laughing at you, because now here are more scenes from the insides of Dear
Hamas laughing at USA. Oh. Why? I mean, if US will deploy military there, will be no Hamas, no Gaza, nothing.
Dear Al and hold on. There we go. Dear Al Bala. Okay, now this was provided to us by Middle Eastern Eye. These photos aren't.
Middle Eastern Eye is not a reliable, is not a good source of information. You need to fact check your information if you want real data.
What we usually show, but due to the new community guidelines, we got to be, okay. Now, if you need to, you can follow Millie Snide on Telegram, or you can go on X. They're there too. This is before what happened in a Nasserat refugee camp. I'm sorry, I called it Al Nasserat. I always get Deir Al Bala and Nasserat confused, but Nasserat refugee camp. This is what it looked like right before the strike. Boom, right after. Here you can see the people running away, trying their hardest to get away from that smoke that we just saw back there, and a bigger close-up from another angle. Yeah, this was methodically planned. I mean, they even referred to this.
The Israeli military encountered Hamas fighters in refugee camp, which was heavy armed and was in need for more support. I mean, they encounter resistance for the Hamas fighters. They tried to go there, rescue without any victims or anything.
Residential unit or this residential area, it's a simple residential area that they refer to it as a terror infrastructure. Now, why am I making it clear that we know the difference? Seeing as though, yes, some of those hostages were there, and I know some people are gonna be like, well, that's why they called it a terror infrastructure. No, that's not why. It's not a terror infrastructure. Okay, nobody there was of any concern. No one there. Those people were just stationed there. That's it. That's all. Okay.
The body cam of the soldiers who was inside have the footage of the Hamas attacking them.
When we look at the choice of verbiage and vocabulary that they're saying, it really draws close attention to what has been going on leading up to this situation, which is the talks between some of the highest ranking people that are involved in the Palestinian Authority, Egypt, Sudan, Saudi Arabia. I'm sorry, not Sudan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and several more Islamic several more Islamic countries that are all in talks into how everything's are going to go in Palestine in a two-state solution, recognizing Palestine as a separate state. And as well as, leaving alone Gaza and the West Bank and, doing all the land back stuff. They've been in talks with the United States for weeks. Okay. Now,
I don't think two-state solution it is a viable solution right now, because after the real mess which was done by Hamas, I think nobody will trust Palestinian anymore. Plus, it's dangerous it's dangerous not just for Israel. It's also dangerous for Jordan, Egypt, Saudi, and I think these countries will do everything is possible to crack down on Hamas and will try somehow to get rid of the Gazans, because the Hamas is not a dangerous terrorist group just for Israel. It's also for Saudi or Egypt. They are controlled, sponsored, and armed by Iran. And the only solution to survive in that place is to support Israel.
multiple times in two different places, Cairo and Tokyo, they were presented with a list of options, right? But the Palestinian Authority is calling BS, because now they're starting to feel like this talks of how things are going to look post-war is no longer looking like anyone's trying to help, and it's looking more like they're being caught at bay, like they're being put at bay and like dangling the actual carrot right in front of them and making them think that they're going to help them, when in reality they're just, using them. They have absolutely no plans on ever calling for a ceasefire, and the reason why we think that is they keep providing, the U.S. keeps providing terms. Hold on, there we are. Okay, so I was reading this earlier, so I had to go back to it. Saudi Arabia, the United Emirates, Qatar, Egypt, Jordan, and the Palestinian Authority, all of them are meeting consistently to talk about what's going to go down, who's going to help rebuild, all that. Okay, so let's get to the terms that they were talking about. They do talk about recognizing that at the Palestinian state as an official state or territory. So these are the terms that they pretty much came up with. I know some of them are missing up top. We can go backwards, but a reunification of Gaza and the West Bank under the Palestinian Authority, which will receive assistance from the international partners during a transitional period after the war until it is ready to fully resume governance in the Strip. Now, I read through all of these, and one of the things that I was able to pick out in these is there is no certainty or concrete evidence that they will be able to govern their own country after it's being recognized fully as its own state. Even with supporting the independent, contiguous, viable Palestinian state, none of this states that they are going to have full reign and control. All of this sounds like you still want to have control over the Palestinian state. You're giving them what they're asking for, but secretly putting things inside of there that, you get what I'm saying? It's loopholes in all of these terms and agreements, and it did not make sense to me until they point.
Nobody trusts Palestinians, even if fellows Arab countries. They are the problems, the real problem there.
Pointed it out today. They feel like retrieving those 4 individuals today, killing all those people in Central Gaza at Nasser refugee camp, was grounds for them to snatch this whole deal away and say, never mind. But why? Because they knew for a fact that Benjamin Netanyahu was never going to agree on a 2-state solution. So they knew that America was playing them from the start, and that something else was.
The 2-state solution plan was made by UN, and Palestinians and Arabs didn't agree with. Not Israel. Israel in the first, they was pro this plan. Now is not viable because Palestinians are very dangerous for the Middle East.
Was going on while they were dangling this in front of their face, because they did it not only in Tokyo, but they also did it in Cairo, and now they're doing it to them again. And while their backs were turned, this is what happened at Nasser refugee camp. I would hate to be the one to tell you that we told y'all so, but stay tuned.
No thanks, but I will continue to follow you because you have a lot of lies spreading around, and I will be watching you to see what more lies you bring to us. I want to finish with an apology. I don't speak a good English. I am sorry about that. I tried to make some clarification through some lies people spread on TikTok, because every day when I open TikTok, it's full of lies and full of liars. Give me a like if you actually like what I'm doing. Thank you so much. I will end here because it's already too long.